My phone buzzed during the most important client presentation of the quarter. 3 notifications in rapid succession, then 5 more. I silenced it without looking, focusing on closing the deal that would determine my team's bonus structure for the next 6 months. But the buzzing didn't stop. By the time we took a 15-minute break, I had 37 notifications, all from the same source. My wife's social media post. I opened it, and there it was, posted 2 hours earlier while I was explaining quarterly projections to potential clients. Some wives pretend to be happy to keep peace. The emotional labor of maintaining a facade while dying inside is exhausting. To all the women reading this who understand exactly what I mean, you're not alone. The post had exploded. 200 comments and counting. Heart reactions from women I recognized. Her college friends, our neighbors, even my own sister had liked it. The comments were a chorus of support and shared experiences. Girl, I felt this in my soul. This hit different. Thank you for being brave enough to say it. The way I screenshot this to send to my therapist. I scrolled through dozens of similar responses. Women talking about their own marriages, their own struggles with keeping the peace. My wife had become their spokesperson for marital dissatisfaction. I read it again. Some wives pretend to be happy to keep peace. Was she talking about us? About our marriage? The conference room door opened behind me. Ready to resume? My colleague asked. Give me 1 more minute. I typed a comment on her post. Authenticity matters. 2 words. Simple. Direct. I hit send and walked back into the presentation. The rest of the meeting passed in a blur. We secured the contract, handshakes all around, but my mind was elsewhere. Every few minutes, I felt the phantom buzz of my phone. More notifications. More people seeing my comment. More people drawing their own conclusions about what those 2 words meant. By the time I reached my car, her post had 400 comments. Mine had 53 replies. The drive home felt longer than usual. I kept thinking about those 2 words. Authenticity matters. Had I just declared war? Or had she already done that with her post? I pulled into our driveway at 6:30. Her car was there, which meant she'd seen my comment hours ago. The house looked normal from the outside. Same suburban lawn, same front porch with the decorative chairs we never used. Nothing suggested that inside, everything had shifted. I opened the front door to silence. No television, no music, no sounds from the kitchen. Just the hum of the air conditioning and the tick of the wall clock in the hallway. I'm home, I called out. She appeared at the top of the stairs, still in her work clothes, but with that particular expression I'd learned to recognize over 7 years of marriage. Tight jaw, narrowed eyes, arms crossed. The stance that meant she'd been rehearsing this conversation for hours. We need to talk, she said, already walking down the stairs. I figured. She stopped 3 steps from the bottom, giving herself the height advantage. What the hell was that comment supposed to mean? Exactly what it said. Authenticity matters. Don't give me that. You commented on my post in front of everyone we know. My friends, your coworkers, our neighbors. What were you thinking? I set my briefcase down by the door and looked up at her. I was thinking about authenticity, about pretending, about keeping peace. That post wasn't about you, wasn't it? The question hung in the air between us. She came down the remaining steps, her heels clicking against the hardwood. It was about women in general, about the emotional burden we carry, about society's expectations. Right? Society, not our marriage. Not everything is about you. I nodded slowly. You're right. Not everything. But that post? Posted while I'm at work, talking about pretending to be happy, about keeping peace? That felt pretty specific. You're being paranoid. Am I? Because reading those comments, it sounds like a lot of wives are having the same conversation about their husbands right now that we're having about that post. She moved to the living room, and I followed. The space felt smaller than usual, the furniture arranged like obstacles between us. Why didn't you just ask me about it privately? She said, settling onto the edge of the couch. Why make it public? Because you made it public first. You opened the door to a public conversation about our marriage. I never mentioned our marriage. You didn't have to. The message was clear enough. We stared at each other across the coffee table. The same coffee table we'd picked out together 3 years ago. The same living room where we'd hosted dinner parties and game nights. Where we'd fallen asleep watching movies on Sunday afternoons. Everything looked the same, but something fundamental had changed today. So what happens now? She asked. Now we stop pretending. Pretending what? That everything's fine. That we're happy. That this marriage is working. Her face went pale. What are you saying? I'm saying authenticity matters. And if you're pretending to be happy to keep peace, then we have a bigger problem than I thought. I never said I was pretending about us. You didn't have to say it directly. The timing, the content, the way you wrote it. Either you were talking about our marriage, or you were using our marriage as inspiration for a post about other people's problems. Either way, it tells me everything I need to know. She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. For the first time since I'd walked in, she didn't have an immediate comeback. I continued, it's time we both stopped pretending. The clock on the mantel chimed 7 times. Outside, I could hear our neighbor starting his evening routine, the automatic sprinklers kicking on across the street. Normal sounds of suburban life continuing around us while inside our house. Everything was finally becoming authentic. That night, we ate dinner in silence. She picked at her salad while scrolling through her phone, probably reading the endless stream of comments on her post. I could see the notification count climbing every few minutes. By bedtime, her post had over 600 reactions. We went to bed without speaking. She faced away from me, and I stared at the ceiling until well past midnight. When my alarm went off at 6, her side of the bed was already empty. I found her in the kitchen, fully dressed for work, standing by the counter with a travel mug of coffee. We're not done talking, I said. I have an early meeting. Cancel it. She looked up from her phone. Excuse me. Cancel the meeting. Or reschedule it. This conversation is more important than whatever's on your calendar today. You don't get to dictate my schedule. I'm not dictating anything. I'm asking my wife to prioritize our marriage over a meeting that can be moved. She set down her mug harder than necessary. Fine, but I want to know what you expect to accomplish here. I expect us to be honest about what's been happening in this house for the past 6 months. What's been happening? I pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app. She watched as I scrolled to find what I was looking for. March 15th. You told your book club that I never listen when you talk about your day. I was in the next room. That was private conversation. April 3rd. You posted a meme about husbands who think they're helping by doing 1 load of laundry. I do half the housework in this house. It was just a meme. April 22nd. You corrected me in front of the Johnsons about how much we spent on the kitchen renovation. The actual amount versus what I said was a difference of $300, but you made sure everyone knew I was wrong. Her face was getting red. Are you seriously keeping a list? May 7th. You like to post about women who have to mother their husbands. May 20th. Another share about emotional labor. June 2nd. A comment on your friend's post about how some men never grow up. Those weren't about you, weren't they? Because there's a pattern here. 6 months of subtle digs, public embarrassment, and passive-aggressive social media activity, all building up to yesterday's post about pretending to be happy. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Because I've been tracking this behavior since March, and it's escalating. Each incident gets a little more public, a little more pointed. Yesterday was just the most obvious example. She sat down at the kitchen island, finally giving me her full attention. You want to know what I think? I continued. I think you've been setting up a narrative. Poor wife, difficult husband. You're building a case for why our marriage doesn't work, and you're doing it in public so that when it falls apart, everyone already knows whose fault it is. That's not what I'm doing. Then explain it to me. Explain why my wife has spent 6 months broadcasting our problems to social media instead of talking to me about them. Because talking to you doesn't work. Finally, some honesty. When was the last time you tried? I try constantly. You just don't hear me. Give me an example. Last month, I told you I was overwhelmed with work and needed more help around the house. And I started doing more laundry and cleaning the bathrooms. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Because I can't read your mind. If you need something specific, ask for it specifically. I shouldn't have to ask. You should just know. I stared at her. That's not how communication works. You can't expect me to interpret hints and then get angry when I guess wrong. Other husbands figure it out. Other husbands? You mean the ones your friends complain about constantly on social media? The ones you share posts about? Those husbands. She didn't answer. Here's what I think happened, I said. Somewhere along the way, you decided I wasn't meeting your expectations. Instead of telling me what those expectations were, you started collecting evidence of my failures. Every time I didn't read your mind correctly, every time I misunderstood what you needed, you filed it away as proof that I'm not good enough. That's not true. Then why the public campaign? Why turn our marriage into content for your social media friends to analyze and comment on? Because I needed support. From who? From women who don't know me, don't know us, don't know what actually happens in this house. That's the support you needed? She looked down at her hands. You wouldn't understand. Try me. The emotional labor of being married to someone who doesn't see what needs to be done, who doesn't anticipate problems, who waits to be told everything. It's exhausting. So instead of telling me what you need, you complain to the internet. It's not complaining. It's processing. It's sabotage. You're sabotaging our marriage by making me the villain in your online story. I never called you a villain. You didn't have to. The implication was clear enough. And now, after 6 months of this, you posted about pretending to be happy and keeping peace. What did you think would happen? I thought you might finally understand how I feel. I understand perfectly. You're unhappy. You blame me for that unhappiness. And instead of working with me to fix it, you've been documenting why it can't be fixed. The kitchen went quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Through the window, I could see our neighbor loading his car for work. Normal life continuing while ours fell apart in real time. So what do you want? She asked quietly. I want you to delete the post. What? Delete it? Right now? While I'm watching? Absolutely not. Then we're done here. What does that mean? It means you get to choose. Delete the post and start communicating like an adult, or keep it up and deal with the consequences. What consequences? The ones that come with authenticity. You wanted honesty? You wanted to stop pretending? Then let's stop pretending this marriage is salvageable if you're more interested in performing our problems than solving them. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she picked up her phone. I'm not deleting it. Then you've made your choice. I walked past her toward the garage. I'll be staying at a hotel for the next few days while I figure out my next move. You're leaving? No. I'm stop pretending everything's fine. I packed a bag and checked into a hotel downtown. 3 days of room service, cable television, and silence. No passive-aggressive sighs, no pointed comments about dishes in the sink, no social media drama bleeding into my living room. It was the most peace I'd felt in months. On the 3rd day, she called. People are asking questions, she said without preamble. What kind of questions? Your sister called. She wanted to know why you weren't answering your phone. And the neighbors noticed your car hasn't been in the driveway. What did you tell them? That you're traveling for work. How long do you think that story will hold up? That depends on you. I could hear the expectation in her voice. The assumption that I'd come home, we'd have another circular conversation, and everything would go back to normal. The pattern we'd established over years of conflict avoidance. I'm not coming back, I said. Don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being authentic. Remember authenticity? Your latest favorite concept. So you're just going to abandon our marriage over one post? One post that represented 6 months of behavior. One post that showed me exactly how you really feel about being married to me. I was venting to 600 people, including my coworkers, my family, and our friends. You turned our private problems into public entertainment. That's not what I intended, but that's what you did. And when I gave you a chance to take it down and start over, you refused. Silence on the other end. I could picture her in our kitchen, probably pacing between the island and the sink like she always did when she was frustrated. What do you want from me? She finally asked. Nothing. Nothing. I wanted you to delete the post. You refused. I wanted you to communicate directly instead of through social media campaigns. You said I wouldn't understand. I wanted you to take responsibility for sabotaging our marriage. Instead, you called me dramatic for not accepting it. So that's it. 7 years of marriage and you're just done. I'm done pretending. You should try it sometime. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer. Not the family friend who'd handled our house purchase. Not someone who might try to talk me out of it or suggest counseling. A divorce attorney who specialized in clean, efficient separations. How complicated is the estate? She asked during our consultation. House, 2 cars, standard retirement accounts. No kids. Any contested assets? No. I want this finished quickly and quietly. Timeline. Yesterday. She smiled. I like clients who know what they want. The papers were filed within a week. I had them served at her workplace on a Wednesday afternoon. Professional, public, and perfectly timed to make a statement. She called that evening, furious. You had me served at work? In front of my colleagues. I had you served by a professional process server during business hours. Same way any legal document gets delivered. This is humiliating. Now you know how it feels to have your private business made public. That's completely different. Is it? You made our marriage problems into a social media event. I made our divorce into a legal proceeding. At least mine serves a purpose. I can't believe you're actually doing this. Why? Because you thought I'd just accept being married to someone who sees me as content for her victim narrative? I don't see you that way. Your post history suggests otherwise. One post doesn't define how I feel about you. 6 months of posts. But let's say you're right. Let's say it was just one post. You still refused to take it down when I asked. You still chose your public image over our private relationship. I shouldn't have to censor myself because you're insecure. And I shouldn't have to stay married to someone who thinks authenticity means broadcasting our problems to anyone with an internet connection. So we're really doing this. We're really doing this. What about the house? Keep it. I'll take my half of the equity in cash when it sells. What if I don't want to sell? Then you'll need to refinance and buy me out. Your choice. This is insane. We can work this out. No, we can't. Because working it out would require you to admit that using our marriage as social media content was wrong. And you're not going to do that. Fine. But I want you to know that everyone's going to see this as you giving up. Really? Because I think they're going to see it as me refusing to accept disrespect. But I guess we'll find out. What's that supposed to mean? It means your post is still up. All those comments about pretending to be happy, keeping peace, the emotional labor of maintaining a facade. Now everyone gets to watch how prophetic those words turned out to be. The line went quiet. I could practically hear the gears turning as she realized what I meant. You're going to use my post against me. I'm not going to use anything against you. I'm going to let your own words speak for themselves. You wanted authenticity? You wanted to stop pretending? Congratulations. You got exactly what you asked for. That's not what I meant. I know, but that's what you said. And as you've reminded me many times over the past 6 months, actions have consequences. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow I'd start looking for my own place. Something clean, simple, and drama-free. Somewhere I could live authentically without an audience analyzing every move. 2 weeks after the papers were filed, I found a place. A rental house in a quiet neighborhood across town. Nothing fancy, but it had everything I needed. A home office, a decent kitchen, and most importantly, no history. The moving truck was scheduled for Saturday morning. I'd arranged to pick up my belongings while she was at her weekly yoga class. Clean, efficient, no unnecessary drama. Friday evening, she called. We need to talk before you take your stuff. About what? About how we're handling this with people. What we're going to say. We're getting divorced. That's what we're going to say. But people are going to want to know why. Then tell them. Tell them what? The truth. That you were unhappy pretending to be happy, and I was unhappy being married to someone who was pretending. That makes it sound like it's my fault, isn't it? Both people contribute to a marriage failing. You're right. I contributed by ignoring 6 months of passive-aggressive behavior instead of addressing it directly. I contributed by hoping you'd eventually communicate like an adult instead of performing our problems for social media. My mistake was thinking you wanted to fix things instead of just complaining about them. That's not fair. What's not fair is spending 6 months turning your husband into a social media villain and then acting surprised when he stops playing along. I never called you a villain. You didn't have to. The implications were clear enough. And apparently, your friends agreed. I saw some of the comments on your post before you made it private. When did I make it private? 3 days ago, right around the time people started asking uncomfortable questions about whether you were describing your own marriage. Silence. Here's what I think happened. I continued. You posted that comment expecting sympathy and validation. You got it. But then I commented, and suddenly people were connecting the dots. Your marriage advice post became a little too specific, a little too real. So you locked it down. People were getting too personal in the comments. People were asking if you were okay at home, if you needed help, if your husband was treating you badly, and you realized that your vague post about pretending to be happy had created a narrative you couldn't control. That's not what happened. Then why make it private? Why not leave it up as a support system for all those women who understood exactly what you meant? No answer. I'll be there at 10 tomorrow morning. I'll be gone by noon. Wait. What? What if we tried counseling? I almost laughed. Now you want to try counseling? After I've already moved out and filed papers? People go to counseling to save their marriages all the time. People go to counseling when both parties want to save the marriage. You've spent 6 months demonstrating that you don't want to be married to me. You want to be married to some idealized version of me that doesn't exist. That's not true. Then explain the social media campaign. Explain why you chose to share your marital problems with everyone except your husband. I told you. I tried talking to you. No, you tried hinting at me. You tried expecting me to read your mind and then getting frustrated when I couldn't. That's not communication. That's a setup for failure. So you're saying this is all my fault. I'm saying you created a situation where I had to choose between my self-respect and our marriage. And I chose self-respect. What about for better or worse? What about it? Was posting our problems on social media part of better? Was refusing to delete it part of worse? Was 6 months of passive-aggressive behavior part of loving and honoring? Marriage is work. Yes, it is. And I was willing to work on ours. But I'm not willing to work on it with someone who's already decided on the problem and shared that conclusion with the internet. I never said you were the problem. You didn't have to say it explicitly. The pattern said it for you. Saturday morning came cold and clear. I arrived at the house exactly at 10 with 2 friends to help load furniture. Her car wasn't in the driveway, which meant she'd stuck to our agreement. The house felt different walking through it. Smaller, somehow. Less significant. Just a collection of rooms where 2 people had lived together and gradually grown apart. We worked quickly and efficiently. Furniture, electronics, personal items. Things got divided exactly as we discussed through lawyers. No disputes, no arguments over sentimental value. Everything had been reduced to legal property division. I was loading the last box into the truck when her car pulled into the driveway. She got out slowly, yoga mat in hand, clearly not expecting to see me still there. I thought you'd be gone by now. Just finishing up. She looked at the truck, half full of the life we'd built together. This is really happening. This has been happening for 6 months. Today we're just making it official. I keep thinking there must be another way. There was. Delete the post. Start communicating directly. Stop turning our marriage into performance art. You chose differently. That's a very simple way to look at a complicated situation. Sometimes complicated situations have simple solutions that people refuse to take because they're too proud or too invested in being right. She set down her yoga mat and crossed her arms. The same defensive posture I'd seen 1,000 times. So that's it. 7 years, and you're just walking away. I'm not walking away. I'm walking towards something better. There's a difference. What if I delete the post now? Now? After the papers are filed, after I've moved out, after you've spent 2 weeks telling people I'm abandoning our marriage? Now you want to delete it. I'm trying to fix this. You're trying to avoid the consequences of your choices. That's not the same thing. My friend closed the truck's tailgate. We're loaded up. I looked at the house one more time. 7 years of mortgage payments, weekend projects, holiday dinners, and shared dreams. It looked exactly the same from the outside. I hope you find what you're looking for, I told her. What I was looking for was a husband who understood me. What you were looking for was an audience for your complaints. You got one. Now you get to explain to them why your marriage ended exactly the way you predicted in your post. I climbed into the truck and drove away from the life I'd thought would last forever. In the rearview mirror, she stood in the driveway, still holding her yoga mat, finally getting the authenticity she'd claimed to want. Life in the new house was quiet. No morning arguments, no tension during dinner, no walking on eggshells around someone else's mood. I worked, came home, cooked simple meals, and slept through the night for the first time in months. 3 weeks after I moved out, my sister called. So I heard about you and her. From who? From everyone. It's all over social media. Her friends are posting about supporting women through difficult divorces. Very dramatic. I'm sure it is. She's playing the victim pretty hard. That's not surprising. But here's the interesting part. Remember that post she made about pretending to be happy? The one you commented on. What about it? People are starting to connect the dots. Some of her friends are asking pointed questions in the comments. I sat up straighter. What kind of questions? Things like, girl, were you talking about your own situation? And did you take your own advice about authenticity? One woman even commented that she was living for the irony of someone posting about fake happiness right before their marriage imploded. She made that post private weeks ago. She did, but people screenshot things. And her recent posts about going through a difficult time and learning to prioritize herself are making people remember what she said before. Meaning her attempt to control the narrative is backfiring. People are wondering if she actually was pretending to be happy in her marriage, and if so, why she didn't try harder to fix it instead of just complaining online. I couldn't help but appreciate the irony. She tried to build sympathy by positioning herself as the wrong party, but her own words had created a different story. There's more, my sister continued. Apparently, at her book club last week, things got uncomfortable. How uncomfortable? One of the women asked directly if her post about pretending to be happy was about you. When she tried to deflect, another woman pointed out that posting cryptic marriage complaints instead of talking to your husband wasn't exactly mature communication. How do you know all this? Because I'm still in the book club group chat. They added me months ago when I visited, and no one's removed me. It's been very educational. That evening, curiosity got the better of me. I created a fake social media account and searched for her profile. She'd made most of her posts private, but her public posts from the last month told a clear story. Sometimes the hardest thing is admitting when a situation isn't working and having the courage to change it. Growth requires leaving your comfort zone, even when it's scary. Not everyone will understand your decisions, but you have to do what's right for you. Generic inspiration quotes with carefully curated comments from supportive friends. But scrolling deeper, I found something interesting. The comments on her recent posts had shifted. Where she used to get dozens of heart reactions and supportive messages, now she was getting questions. Are you okay? This seems like a lot of big life changes at once. Maybe focus on fixing things before giving up completely? Did you try working on the issues you posted about before? Someone had even commented, I remember your post about wives pretending to be happy. Did you follow your own advice about authenticity with your husband before ending things? She deleted that comment, but not before others had seen it and started asking similar questions. My phone rang. Her name on the caller ID. People are asking questions, she said without preamble. What kind of questions? About my post. About whether I tried to fix our marriage before walking away. Did you? That's not the point. The point is that people are turning my own words against me. Imagine that. People expecting you to live by the standards you set for others. This isn't funny. It's not meant to be funny. It's meant to be authentic. Stop using that word. Why? It's your word. You're the one who posted about authenticity matching. You're the one who talked about pretending to be happy. I'm just pointing out that people are wondering if you practiced what you preached. What do you want from me? Nothing. I told you that weeks ago. Then why are you doing this? I'm not doing anything. I'm living my life quietly in my own house, working, paying my bills, and minding my own business. You're the one who made our marriage a public discussion. Now you get to deal with the public having opinions about it. People are saying I sabotaged my own marriage. Did you? I was trying to get your attention. You got it. Just not the way you wanted. I never meant for things to go this far. What did you think would happen when you spent 6 months broadcasting that your marriage was making you miserable? Did you think I'd just accept it forever? I thought you'd try harder. I thought you'd communicate better. We were both disappointed. So that's it. You're just going to let people think I destroyed our marriage for social media attention. I'm going to let people think whatever they think based on the evidence you provided. Your post about pretending to be happy is still screenshot on people's phones. Your refusal to delete it when I asked is well documented. Your pattern of passive-aggressive social media behavior speaks for itself. That's not fair. What's not fair is creating a narrative where you're the victim and then being upset when people question that narrative based on your own contradictions. I was unhappy. I know. You told everyone except me. I tried to tell you. You tried to hint at me. There's a difference. So you're saying this is all my fault. I'm saying you chose social media over direct communication, performance over privacy, and narrative control over problem solving. Those were your choices. These are the consequences. What happens now? Now you get to experience the authenticity you claim to want. People are going to ask real questions about your real choices. Some of them won't be comfortable to answer. And you're okay with that? I'm okay with the truth. I figured you would be too, given how much you posted about it. I hung up and turned off my phone. Outside, my new neighborhood was settling into evening routines. Porch lights coming on, families gathering for dinner, dogs being walked down quiet sidewalks. Normal life. Peaceful life. Authentic life without an audience analyzing every moment. For the first time in months, I felt genuinely content. Not pretending to be happy, not performing contentment for anyone's benefit. Just actually, quietly, authentically satisfied with the choices I'd made. The irony wasn't lost on me that she'd gotten exactly what she'd asked for in that post. She'd stopped pretending to be happy, and so had I. The difference was that I was actually happy with the result. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Clean, efficient, exactly as I'd wanted. She kept the house. I took my equity. No alimony, no ongoing financial ties. A complete separation. I was reviewing the final paperwork when my sister texted me a screenshot. Her latest post. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from our own words coming back to teach us what we really needed to learn. The comments were brutal. Are you talking about your post about pretending to be happy? Did you finally take your own advice about authenticity? Girl, we remember what you posted before your marriage ended. Someone had even replied with a screenshot of her original post and my comment side by side. Authenticity matters, look prophetic now. My phone rang an hour later. I need this to stop, she said. What to stop? People won't let it go. Every post I make, someone brings up my old post about pretending to be happy. They're saying I got what I asked for. Didn't you? That's not what I meant when I wrote it. I know, but that's what happened anyway. Can't you tell people to leave me alone? Tell them what, exactly? That you didn't mean what you posted? That authenticity only matters when it's convenient. I made a mistake. Yes, you did. Several of them, actually. So you're just going to let me suffer forever? I'm not letting you do anything. You created this situation with your own choices. The consequences belong to you. What if I apologized? Publicly. For what? Being authentic? Isn't that what you wanted? For not trying harder to save our marriage. It's too late for apologies. We're divorced. It's over. But people keep bringing it up. Then stop posting inspirational quotes about life lessons and authenticity. People find the irony irresistible. So I can't even move on with my life? You can move on however you want. But you can't control how people remember what you said or how they interpret your actions. That's the price of making your private life public. I hate this. I'm sorry you hate the consequences of your choices. But they're still your consequences. 3 months later, she deleted all her social media accounts. By then, screenshots of her posts had become cautionary tales in relationship forums. The woman who predicted her own divorce was how people referred to her story. I, meanwhile, had started dating someone new. Someone who communicated directly, who kept private matters private, and who understood that authenticity meant being honest with the people who mattered, not performing truth for strangers online. The new relationship was refreshingly simple. No hidden meanings, no social media campaigns, no audience to manage. Just two adults talking to each other like adults. One evening, over dinner at a quiet restaurant, my girlfriend asked about my divorce. She posted about pretending to be happy in marriage. I explained. I commented that authenticity matters. She refused to delete it when I asked, so I filed for divorce. That's it. That's it. She wanted authenticity. I gave it to her. And now she knows what authentic consequences feel like. My girlfriend smiled. Remind me never to post cryptic relationship complaints on social media. Just talk to me directly if there's a problem. Revolutionary concept. We laughed, and I realized this was what authentic happiness felt like. Not performed for an audience, not documented for approval, just quietly enjoyed between two people who chose honesty over drama. My ex-wife had been right about one thing in her post. Some people do pretend to be happy to keep peace. The difference was, I'd stopped pretending, stopped keeping her version of peace, and found actual happiness instead. Authenticity had mattered, just not the way she'd expected.